Are you a life coach who wants to make a difference in the world? Do you want to share your wisdom, passion, and experience with others? Do you want to grow your business and reach more clients? If you answered yes to any of these questions, then you need Life Coaching Today. Life Coaching Today is the largest platform on the web for life coaches, therapists, and hypnotherapists who want to enhance their visibility, gain exposure, and connect with clients. Life Coaching Today is more than just a directory. It's a network of opportunities. By joining Life Coaching Today, you will get access to a magazine where you can be featured and connect with over 30 million subscribers. Be a guest to our podcasts with over 55,000 subscribers. A directory where you can showcase your profile, services, and testimonials to thousands of potential clients. And that's not all. Life Coaching Today also offers a free 30-minute coaching session on Tuesdays and Thursdays, where you can be coached or meet your next client. A flexible pricing plan where you can choose the best option for your budget and goals. A dedicated customer service team where you can get help and guidance whenever you need it. So what are you waiting for? Join Life Coaching Today and take your life coaching career to the next level. Visit www.lifecoachingtoday.com and sign up today. Life Coaching Today, the largest portal on the web connecting coaches, therapists, and hypnotherapists.
Y'all can't see me this morning. Hey everyone, good morning and happy May 5th. This is a Kadada Esmera Gray, your conflict coach. And y'all, you know what? We start the morning and I'm like, wait a minute, I don't like that. So I hope you guys are doing well as I am drinking my tea and getting my morning started with you all. So thank you for joining me. Today is a different kind of day. And hold on, if you guys are seeing me live, I'm fixing my lipstick because I don't like it this morning for some odd reason. But yeah, it's been a wild ride, y'all. And I am here this morning, this May 5th. And for all of you all who mistakenly think today is a celebration, I'm just going to say happy Cinco de Mayo. And every year we have this conversation that it is not a celebratory event. Our Hispanic brothers and sisters are not out here like, woohoo, it's not their Independence Day. I'm just going to tell y'all that. That's where I'm going to leave it. It's not their Independence Day. So good morning. And I have been away, as you all know, and I am trying my best let me change my language. I am working towards being more consistent in alignment with my health, because you all know I have health issues. I have a autoimmune disease. I've got fibromyalgia that sometimes takes all the energy that I have in this life to function. And that means and includes like being able to do the tasks that I'm responsible for, because there is a piece of fibromyalgia called brain fog that completely shuts down my brain. It almost ensures that I cannot do what I'm supposed to do. So it's like, guess what, everyone? I've got 10 things on my list to do today. My brain goes, okay, but wait, you're in pain. You can't get out of bed. And then your brain goes, but wait, no, you need to really do it. And then your brain is like, F that. So I am putting processes in place so that way I can be present for you all a little bit more and in different ways. So one of those ways is that I am going to do this podcast on different days. Some podcasts will not be live. So for all my Facebook people or Instagram people, you may not actually see all of these podcasts. But I wanted to do this podcast today because of the topic, because of the sister girl that I'm going to speak to. And we're all going to chat with later on because she's going on vacation and it's 'tis the season. And I was like, listen, we are not going to wait until June, July, or whatever to have this conversation. And let me just tell you something. This topic is hotter than the tea that I drink every morning. Because I'm telling you, it's wild in these streets. But, I always talk about here at the Conflict Whisperer podcast, we tend to have hard conversations with truth. And I just think that some conversations need to be had because guess what? It's a skill to have hard conversations. It really is. And that skill alone comes with diplomacy, comes with a lot of grace, comes with the idea that we have to listen to each other and actually hear without judgment. I know that there's this phrase going around right now, like we listen and we don't judge. Listen, do you all really enact that though? That's the question. Do you all actually do that? And that's the thing that we need to practice, because whether it's with this political world that we live in, I was really trying to figure out another word, but we have to really start listening to people and hearing what are the challenges and or what is the space. You think about bodies of water and you think about the Gulf of Mexico, I'm still calling it. And in between the Gulf of Mexico are two land masses, right? So in that Gulf, that's the space of calmness. That's the space of rockiness that we can kind of put ourselves into, which is really unhealthy. I'm just going to say that. So we need to learn how to listen, be the best listeners, and be the best people that we can engage ourselves with and in our lives daily. So since we last met, I just want to say I turned a good 50. I have turned 50, and I don't know. I'm almost 2 weeks into 50 and I don't know what it's supposed to feel like. I don't know what I'm supposed to look like, but I'm here. And I feel like that is what was said in The Color Purple. And Celie said, I'm here, God, I am here, or something to that. And I am here. I am still here and functioning. And I am blessed by that because so many people don't make it to 50. And thank you all for, listening to the podcast, whether you find me on Facebook, whether you find me on, where else can you find me? Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, everybody, y'all can find me in all those places. So thank you for being there and being present. And even, listen, I'm going to say this because I know that y'all, and I always have to say this. Some of y'all always complain about, oh my gosh, it's so early in the morning. But truth be told, y'all are up, right? Y'all are up. Y'all are getting ready for work. Just turn me on in the background like we used to do back in the day with the radio. Turn it on, get dressed for school, all the fun things. So let me just say this. I really tried my best this morning to do my hair for y'all. Actually, I started it yesterday. And y'all know I'm a natural girl and I have had braids in my hair. I've had twists in my hair because I've been growing my hair out because I wanted to ensure that it was healthy. Because 2 years now, I think 2 years, 3 years now since I've had my thyroid disease, it jacked my hair up, made it really thin. So, but y'all know God and my hair be doing something different. But I at least can say it's long enough. Y'all can't see it, but I have it in a ponytail, just a little bit of a ponytail, not a strong one, just enough that I can wrap the little thing around my hair. And yeah, that's what I'm proud about. So that makes me happy today. And I want to tell you all that, the doggy, Mrs. Zora, she has learned a new trick. I have finally, after 3 years of having her, I have finally been able to have her learn the lay down trick, y'all. That was my birthday present because she just decided she was going to cooperate. Who knew? And that was I loved it. I loved it so very much. So I was very happy about that. And then we started a new ritual, her and I. So think about your rituals in the morning. For me, I get up, I stumble around, I stumble my little self right into the kitchen because I have to get a cup of tea mushroom coffee something that I need to wake myself up. And then the doggy, she has to have some really great breakfast treats because that's the life we live in over here. And usually she ran off with, I would give her a treat. She would run off and, she would just run off and eat her treat. But now what she does is she actually waits for me to get my tea and go sit down on the couch. So we have our breakfast treats in the morning together. So it's an interesting 50. Like I said, I'm almost 2 weeks into 50. And I don't know if somebody out in the world, y'all need to tell me what 50 is supposed to feel like. Excuse me, because I was told that it was like, oh, you don't give a damn, you don't do this. And I was like, okay, well, if you haven't met me, I kind of already live in that space. Does that make sense? So, and I'm going to have a birthday party, community celebration come June 7th and do all the things, and you all are invited, and I will be sharing more about that on my page, on my Kadada Esmera Gray page, on my Conflict Whisperer page, because I want y'all to come. I want y'all to come and hang out with me on June 7th. And we're going to have a good event. It is literally time for us to celebrate. I feel like the temperature has been really low. The energy has been really low because we have tried to survive. In fact, not even tried. We are surviving. We're still standing. This first 100 political days in the United States, which have been the bumpiest, rockiest ride on a roller coaster. And for some of y'all who don't like roller coasters, I am sorry that you were on this ride together with us, because Lord knows I don't want to be on this ride at all. But we're still standing, and that's what the most important thing. And that is what I want us to come together and celebrate come June 7th. And then, your girl's going to look kind of cute. Just a little bit as we are moving along and living our lives, because guess what? Life does not stop, and it's not stopping. So we just need to know that that is what is occurring. So that's important. Whew. It's Monday, y'all. And I know what I want to say. I just want to say shout out to all our little senior babies in high school that in the last few weeks have been doing college acceptance day. I have seen so many of my friends, their children are doing big things. They're off to universities. They're picking the college of their dreams. And even my own daughter, y'all, she's already graduated. She's a Berry girl, Berry University. And now she is going to be a K-State Wildcat in her master's program. So I'm super excited for her. She is going to be a biomedical student. I don't know what that means. What I can tell you, though, is that she is going to take organic chemistry, and she is an organic chemistry beast. She loves organic chemistry. When she was at Berry, she was the only chica, only female, and there one other tutor that was allowed to teach organic chemistry. And it's so interesting how the Lord works, because months ago, probably 6 months ago, she said to me, "Mom, I miss classes and I miss organic chemistry." And I was like, okay, I've never heard anybody in the history of the world say they miss organic chemistry, but she does. And so now she is beginning, yes, her, beginning her master's journey come this summer. And I'm super proud of her. I told her yesterday it is time for her to go to the bookstore and go get me my K-State mommy t-shirt, because I'm gonna be a K-State mommy. I'm gonna rock my purple. And but can I just share with you all one of the things, though, that was really hard for me is that it hit me that baby girl is our favorite Berry girl, as I call her, is not going to be coming back to Georgia anytime soon. And it, as a parent, it hit me, y'all, and it hit me hard. When I tell you, I called baby doll yesterday morning and I said, mommy's calling you. And I'm calling with tears in my eyes and I'm crying. And she said, mommy, don't cry. And I said, but I got to tell you something. The idea and knowing that it is going to be a couple years before you decide that you're coming back to Georgia, whew, it hurt my heart. It hurt my spirit. And then God gave a revelation and said, wait a minute. Now you know exactly how your mother feels. And Kimani said, well, wait, mom. And I said, listen, I left New York State in 1997. As soon, probably like 2 months after I graduated, if that much, May 1997. So maybe it was July. And I have not been back. I visit New York State periodically. And y'all know because of my fibromyalgia, I can't go home because only certain times because it's too cold for me and I get sick. But I'm like, I can only imagine what my mother felt during that time when she was just like, oh, she just gone. And I didn't go like up the way. I went across the country and look at the pattern of life because where I landed was in Kansas, in Topeka, Kansas. And that is where baby girl was born, in Topeka, Kansas. And now she is literally probably an hour and a half from where she began her life. And so it's an interesting space. It is an interesting space. So I know if I was tore up, I know in a couple months, some of y'all parents are about to fall out because your children are going off to college and you're just going to be like, oh my God, what am I going to do without them? Maybe some of y'all are preparing how to, make a gym in their bedroom or whatever. But I promise you, it's okay. It's okay. I've been there. I've done it twice with babies and we get through it. We're going to celebrate it. We're going to cry through it. And that's what we are going to do. So on this May 5th, I told y'all we're going to talk about hard conversations and the tea. Like I said, I drink tea or coffee every morning. And this conversation is hotter than the tea that I drink. Y'all, it is hotter. I put this conversation, and let me just tell you, I put it out on Facebook and, people are always like, oh my gosh, and that's the reaction. I just want to say this. It's not shock value for shock value. What people are shocked about is that things are being said aloud. Let's be clear, because we like to live in darkness. We like to pretend that things are not occurring, not true. We have amnesia about things. We have amnesia about the things that are in our own lives. And we pretend as if they are not true. And we do not accept them, respect them, and or pay attention to them. And so yesterday on Facebook, late night, because I was busy yesterday, I put out there that I have author Stella Stella coming on the podcast. And I prefaced all that information with one simple question, which was, how would you react if you met your father's side chick? Woo, whoo, whoo, whoo. Tea, y'all. And could you build a relationship with her? So I'm going to say that again. The question on the table is, how would you react if you met your father's side chick? Could you build a relationship with that woman? Listen, some people on my page, I'm never surprised at their reactions. Never. Because I'm just like, if y'all like, oh my God, I can't believe that's your reaction to everything. And then I did have some people that did reply and was like, no. And I was expecting, I'm sure in their head, they were like, hell no. But it's a conversation that needs to be had because, we always say what happens in the darkness comes to light, right? That's what we say. That's the story that's told. However, I'm just going to tell you all, some things are already in the light and we choose darkness instead. I just want to say that to y'all. Some things are in our face every day, and instead we choose the darkness instead, and meaning that we act like we don't know what the heck is going on. And we tell our own selves a lie. And in some of our families, we are now beginning to see and connect the the effects of the lies and the effects of the challenges in our relationships, in our familial relationships. And let me point this out to you all, because, when everybody was doing that, what's it, 23andMe or whatever that thing is, people were finding out they had siblings, half siblings in these streets. They like, what? How? Dad had a whole other family. Mom didn't tell us we had an adopted, like she had put a child up for adoption, all of these things. And so we have been living, I'm going to be nice and say untruths or meter truths or softer truths within our families. And some of us are really tore up about it. And some of us are like, all right, whatever. And I always use the analogy and tell the story about how a lot of us know that grandpa had a whole other family, because they show up at Thanksgiving, they show up at the barbecues, they show up in all these places. And we're like, oh, okay. And we never think about grandma. We don't know what that is. Ain't nobody coming for grandpa. So with that being said, we're going to run to commercial quickly. And when we come back, I am going to have author and my sister girl, Stella, on with us, talking about her text in her book and her truth, Bingo-Pam, Love and Relationships of an Unlikely Side Chick, Mistress and Friend. And if y'all see my tabs, y'all, because I done highlighted this book, y'all know I love a good text. If y'all see the yellow, I got the yellow, y'all. I got the yellow in this book. So we're going to come right back after this commercial. Okay, let me figure out how to do the commercial. Y'all help me, y'all. Y'all help me. Y'all help me.
One of the biggest challenges for coaches, practitioners, and hypnotherapists is getting clients. As coaches ourselves, we know how difficult it is on social media to stand out and gain credibility. That is why at Life Coaching Today, we connect coaches like you with clients. It all starts with our directory, where it's possible to create a profile that gets the right exposure with over 12,000 hits a month. You can gain credibility by writing for Life Coaching Today magazine, add videos, be interviewed on our podcasts, teach classes in the community, and sell your products directly from our website. Not to mention, we actually connect clients who are actively searching for coaches who can best serve them. So if you are struggling to get clients, have Life Coaching Today help you get more clients. Go to lifecoachingtoday.com.
Good morning, everyone. I am back and I'm over here squirming and doing all the things as I was trying to fix my lighting. I give up. This good Monday morning. I am Kadada Esmera Gray, your conflict whisperer, conflict coach. Someone affectionately called me like your personal Olivia Pope, and which I thought was hilarious. And so good morning. If you are joining, I am on with or I'm bringing on, we're about to talk to, and I see that my cousin was on this morning. What happened to you, Tamaju? I'm calling people out. Good morning, sister. I am going to have a very interesting conversation with the lovely author Stella Stella. And let me tell y'all know I've been in these streets. Y'all know I have been catching flights all over because my book, The Little Engine That Could, I really need to have it with me, but I don't know where my own text is. Miss Polite Stained Heart, y'all. I was at the London Book Fair because of the first book that I published, which is called Miss Polite Stained Heart. And it's called a poetic novel, which is very interesting. I've never heard that phrase before, but that's what it is. It's a poetic novel dealing with life and life's journey and all of the ups, downs, and roller coasters, emotional things that we deal with, whether it's love, whether it's grief, whether it's political challenges in this space. And I came around the corner on the last day, literally on the last day, because it was so huge at the London Book Fair that I didn't even make it. I didn't even know there was like a back to the back room, right? Back area. And so I come around the corner and I'm walking and meet these wonderful women. Now, here's the joke, y'all. I am speaking to author Stella Stella about her being on the podcast the other day. And then I was like, I don't know if I met you. I don't know. Like, I can't wait to see you. I can't wait to see your face. Don't y'all know? We had took a whole photo together, had that photo history, and I'm going to pop it on my Conflict Whisperer page because it is hilarious that we took a photo. And I don't even know, because I can't recall if we really chatted up, because I was talking to some other sister girls. And that's why I was in Massachusetts the other day with the I Know Why You Stayed conference. And I was there and I was one of the speakers and really promoting my book, as well as promoting my poem, If I Were a Soldier, about domestic violence. And so we are here. And welcome to the Conflict Whisperer platform. Thank you for getting up early in the morning with me, Miss Stella Stella. How are you?
Hi, I am so good. Hey, Kadana. My voice is waking up. It's early.
I understand, sister. I understand.
I'm happy to be here.
I am glad to have you. Listen, that's why I have to have the tea in the morning. That's why I done gave up on my hair this morning. I'm just glad that I got enough that I can put it in the ponytail. Listen, let me tell y'all something. This is just, go ahead, turn side to side for us, because we like the pretty girls. I'm telling you, when I saw this sister, I was like, listen, I like her, because the level of confidence to rock that hairstyle that's she a badass chick, y'all. She's a badass chica. And I can say that because as a sister girl who loves, my hair used to be faded. I used to love it low. I still don't know. I don't know why I'm not just cutting it off, because there is freedom in low cut hair, as well as there's something about women who can rock their hair or no hair at all. That's a spirit that is not a calm, quiet one. I promise y'all. It speaks very loudly about the fact that the level of confidence to cut all your hair off in the world where we live, where hair is important. Ooh, I tell y'all. So, Miss Stella, Author Stella, let me just say this. I don't tell people stories. So I allow people to introduce themselves, because I don't think I can do it justice. And I'm a true believer that, you always allow people to tell their own stories, because the other person that tells the story sometimes, as we know, historically, jack stuff up and lie and do all kinds of things. So I'm going to allow you to introduce yourself to the Conflict Whisperer audience. You have the floor, Miss Author Stella Stella.
You know what? Thank you, Kadana. I am Author Stella Stella. I enjoy writing short stories. I'm all over the map with genres. I don't hang in one particular genre. I just kind of write what I feel like writing. I am retired. We met at the London Book Fair briefly, and I was reminded of that. We were with Black women authors. That's right. When we did that. So I'm so glad, and we'll have to come back to that before we're done. But
we will. Okay, see me, I'm over here fighting once again with the lights. I give up.
Yeah. I am I want to say, like, the Cardi B word, a regular, degular lady. I'm retired. I grew up very, very poor on welfare. Mama was married. Daddy wasn't. Or I'm sorry, Mama wasn't married, but Daddy was. The other way around. I'm sorry. It's early. Early. Mama wasn't married, but Daddy was. And then I grew up as an adult. I lived, like in a suburban area, had a nice home, So I carry two completely opposing paradigms with me all the time, because growing up poor and on welfare, obviously you don't imagine traveling, you don't imagine home ownership, so on and so forth, right? But as an adult, that was my life. So it's kind of an interesting dichotomy to have two completely different paradigms.
I love it. Now, first, let me just say, you don't look old enough to retire. However,
Thank you.
that doesn't mean that people out here retiring in 32. So, in 22, depending on this influencer world that people are in. I mean, shit, some people don't even have to work. So you don't look like you are in retirement mode, but I love it. I am curious though, when you started your life as a young woman, what was your profession? What did you do professionally?
I spent 32 years working at Kaiser Healthcare System in California. It's a healthcare
Wow.
system.
Oh,
So
girl.
I'm legitimately retired.
You were legitimate. Oh, yes, she is
I am
legitimately.
legitimately. I spent
Okay.
32 years there and ended up retiring because I had gotten there early, just 2 years shy of retirement age.
Mm-hmm.
I took a package. I qualified for an early retirement opt-out package, so it was I made it by just the skin, and so I took that. But yeah,
Okay. I love it.
I'm legit grown woman.
You're
I
legit a
got the
grown woman.
numbers.
I mean,
Yes.
listen, outside of living my own life, I ain't never worked anywhere 32 years. Okay. Except for just
Right?
trying to take care
Yeah,
of
my
me.
son is 26. How about that?
Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. Is he single? Because my child is single.
He is.
She's
He
26.
is.
So we're going to have to have
We'll
that
talk
conversation.
about that. We'll talk about that. And I was listening to your comment when my son was in college. We were pretty close anyway, but we got even closer because it was during the pandemic. He graduated from
Yeah.
college in 2022. And
Mm-hmm.
so he went through the whole pandemic thing. We spoke regularly, sometimes daily, sometimes 2 or 3 times a day.
Yeah.
So that bond, that connection got even closer while he was in college. So
I
anyway,
love
I
it.
just
I
wanted to
love
say
it.
that.
Yeah. So we're gonna have to talk offline because, like I said, I got a 26-year-old daughter. Okay. She's not gonna be happy about that, but if they
I know,
believe
right?
if they believe in long distance relationships, we can make it work. We can make it work. Um, so at what age? Okay, first, let me just tell my audience something. So, in case you're like Kadada, you have been doing a lot of conversations with authors. And yes, so this is not necessarily, I'm not going to go into the space of being an author podcast because that's already out there. What I am doing is I am looking at the conflict inside of these texts, right? And bringing them forward and into the light. And this book that you wrote, Bingo-Pam, is full of so many conflicts. And y'all know how I feel about conflict. I love conflict because we have an opportunity to resolve and we also have the opportunity to build skills around that. And that's what I want to teach you all. And this book has so many conflicts ranging from identity, and I call it social identity because what the world defines for people, meaning the labels that we give, that is prevalent in this book. The idea of cheating is brought forward. The idea of healthy relationships is brought forward. The idea of, like you said, having these dichotomies where you have multiple worlds and having to move inside of each of these worlds, right? And we need to know and understand and accept that we do all of those things and acknowledge. Before the acceptance, we have to acknowledge that we are actually doing that. And I think in this book, there is a level of bravery and honesty that comes with your writing. And I know when we spoke the other day, I was like, listen, I think a book should transport you back, transport you to some place in memory of something that has occurred previously in your life. And y'all, I could not put this down. Listen, I got questions in the book. I've got on my big pad of stuff questions, y'all. Questions. And this is my big pad of ideas that I love so very much. So I wanted to make that clear to everyone because if you're like, oh my gosh, a book, and listen, what is really interesting is that we don't read anymore in the United States. Most people stop reading after they graduate high school. And a lot of people start reading after they graduate college as well. So we're not a reader nation. Outside of the United States, people are still reading. They still love books and so forth. So, let's take a deep breath because we're about to get into it. We are about to get into it. So I need to know first and foremost, how old were you when you decided to write this book?
I wrote that book just, so I was probably just before I turned between 55 and 60, but
Okay.
somewhere maybe 55, 57 years old, somewhere in there.
Okay. And so how long have you been an author?
Since 20, I've written short stories just for my friends and family for many years back. That was just what I like to do, just
Yeah.
write a short story here and there. My first self-published was in, I believe, 2016 or 2018.
Okay.
And that is my autobiography, so to speak, and it's called Life is a Funny Thing. But I did that one, Bingo-Pam, I wrote in, I think it was 2022, just a few years ago.
So you had time in your womanhood to grow up and think about life and think about all of the relationships.
Absolutely.
And if I hadn't said this,
Absolutely.
y'all, the conflict of relationships that are intertwined in our lives, the streams of relationships, the different types of relationships are so pertinent in this life. And so I asked how old you were because I really wanted to know if you had been in a reflective space. And I know you were in a reflective space because you dedicated this book to the memory of Bingo-Pam.
Correct.
And that is beautiful. I just want to tell you that by the end of this book, I liked Bingo-Pam. I actually loved Bingo-Pam. And that is not something that's supposed to be done. I'm going to tell y'all right now, it's not supposed to be done because you're not supposed to like the other woman.
Correct.
But I'm going to tell y'all something. Daddy, respectfully, author Stella Stella's daddy, as the quiet man he was a little messy. He was a little messy. And this book doesn't deal with his mess. But I do have a question for you.
Sure.
Did you ever talk to your father about his messiness, about being a married man with mistresses? Did you ever discuss that with him?
No, I did not.
Okay.
And without giving the whole book, because I hope people read it, my mother was his first mistress.
Y'all, the tea.
So, yeah, no, I did not. But I also didn't grow up in the space of daddy had, with my mother, I didn't grow up in the space of what's going on because daddy had a whole other family. Daddy was married and had a whole other family in the same town, but daddy was at our house, my house, every day. And he went home at night. So I didn't miss daddy. I didn't have any wonder, where is daddy? What is he doing? Why this? Why that? Daddy was present.
Did you ever wonder, and so you all, to kind of give a quick synopsis without giving it all away, you are the daughter, your mother was your father's first mistress, correct?
Correct.
And when did you know, and y'all, side chick means that she's another woman and he has a wife, right? And he had a whole entire life on street A, and then he had a life on street B. Did you ever question as a child, you went to sleep, where did daddy go?
Home. When we went to sleep, he went home at night. It was,
as a child, did you know as a child, did you know he was going home?
Yes, my mother told us. I don't exactly remember the age, but I would imagine I was probably, because I've known for most of my life. So I would imagine she told us when I was maybe 7, 8, 10 years old, somewhere around there, because we knew, all of us knew. We knew from the very beginning. It was no secret to any of us, to any of our family, to any of our neighbors. It was no secret.
It was an open secret, as they say. An open secret.
My mother, I was their first love child. He was married when they met. And I was their first love child. Now, my mother had 4 more kids with this man. My mother had 6 kids basically with this married man. He was the only man in our home, my daddy.
Wow.
Yeah, so it wasn't a, I don't even remember, to your point earlier, you said sometimes we have amnesia about certain things. So I don't remember the moment she told us, but we always knew. And as kids, you know how kids are, they just kind of say whatever they're thinking.
Yep.
And once we knew, it became, you know, when daddy would say, you know, get the homework done, get this done, and then it's bedtime. Whenever it's like, as kids, it's like, we don't want to go to bed. It's like, Mama, just tell them to go home.
You said tell him to go home. Just go home because you interrupted my day. You interrupted.
Right. That's how kids were. That's, you know, that's kids. It's truth. That's how we were.
But you know what's interesting about that though? That level of routine gives allowance to, there's some power in that. I just want to let y'all know that the routine gives a little power even to kids to know that if I can change one aspect of it, which is, okay, tell him to go home early, or if he has to stay longer, that means I don't have to go to bed. And y'all out here thinking kids don't think about stuff, kids don't know how to manipulate. Listen, kids got skills, okay?
Right. My mother was a disciplinarian. She could handle all of us, right? But in the times when he would be like, you know, kids do this or you guys do that or whatever, we'd be like, when is he going home?
When's he going? Y'all, I don't want to laugh because this is supposed to be a horrible topic. It's supposed to be something.
But you know what? It is what it is. It is what it is. It was my life. It was my story. It is not vanilla. I don't claim to be vanilla, but it is what it is.
And let me tell you, it's a lot of people's stories. People just don't want to say it. People just don't want to say it aloud because, like I said, people choose to live an untruth and act as if I don't address it, it'll just go away, right? And that is, and look, in certain communities and in certain cultures, this is normal. Okay, this is normal. And I'm not talking about anyone that has I'm not talking about polygamists and all that kind of stuff. I'm just saying that there is a standard in some communities, in some aspects, and in some families where dad is there and dad has multiple lives. And you said that dad had a wife and you knew her, right? You got to know her at 15 or 16?
No, I did not meet my dad's wife until after my mother passed away and we had to go live with her. Some of us. I had to go live with her. I knew of her. I never met her. We only saw her once when she came to our house, and not to our house, but to our apartment, and kind of tore up my daddy's car, kind of a thing. Like, I'm going by my dad's car because this car would be parked at our house all the time. And so one day, you know, it's in my biography. The story is she came by and, you know, 6 kids, and my sister was a baby at the time, my youngest sister, and we're like, this car just turned into our driveway, and my mother was like, get inside. And so all of us are inside, and we close the curtains, and, you know, all these little 6 kids and my mom. So there's 12, 14 eyeballs peeking through the curtain as this woman pulls up and gets in daddy's Cadillac and starts tearing it up, starts like poking at the leather seats and just kind of like going through the glove box and having a little hissy fit. And we, you know, my mother had locked the door, you kids get inside, whatever. And then she drove off. She got back in her car and drove off. So from that incident, which I do remember very clearly, that was the only time I saw her. And you know how kids are, she's not real pretty. She's kind of ugly. You know how kids are. But we assumed she knew about us. We assumed she knew about us because of that incident. But when my mother passed years later, I was probably at that time, who knows, I was in elementary school, maybe 3rd, 4th grade, somewhere around there. I don't know, but maybe 6th grade. I don't know. But anyway, long story short, it made us feel like she had to know about us. She literally drove into our driveway, got into my dad's car and had a fit, you know, tearing things up. So we assumed, you knew about us. But she said she didn't.
she didn't. And so before I get to that, because that's just called denial, and we know that is the longest river on the planet. Your dad was in the house at the moment.
Not at that moment. No, not at that moment. He was at work. When he came to our house. So here was the routine. It was kind of like this. My dad was at our house in the morning. I imagine as kids, the flow was he came to our house in the morning. My mom made him breakfast, took him to work, kept the car, and then picked him up at the end of the day. That's how it happened. Or he would go to work and then come to our house after work. It's like some days my mom kept the car and some days she didn't.
You know,
so this happened to be a day where his car was parked right out front.
You reminded me, you say in the book that his wife really wasn't a good cook. And so dad was obviously, he traveled for food. I'm going to say it that way because dad would come for breakfast. He traveled for food. He'd come for breakfast to your mom. And let me just say, my condolences. And I know it's been a long time since your mother has passed, but I just want to say to the world that that is not a club of when your mommy is gone that I ever want to join. And I know it's going to happen at some point in time. But to not have your mother's influence in your life as you were growing up into your adult womanhood is such a challenge. And you moved with this book gracefully into that space because you said you had, everyone, you had your aunties, you had these female role models, and you stated to us that you went and lived with your father's wife. But she really was not a role model to you. And you really didn't have I mean, listen, I literally have it highlighted. And if y'all can see, I literally have the word damn written next to it. And I'm just going to read it because you said she had become my predominant female role model. And although she did not make any profound impression on me, and this is your father's wife. And y'all, I'm not saying this to be in a disrespectful space, but I just want to say, you wonder what kind of conversations he had with her to say, I'm bringing my child that's outside of this marriage into this house because her mother died.
And it wasn't just me, it was me and my brothers. There were 6 of us and we come from a poor family. Nobody could take on 6 kids. So we were split up. After my mother died, I was 15 when she passed. So my brothers and I ended up going with my dad and his wife. She was not kind to us at all. There's no way to sugarcoat that. She claimed she didn't know about us until my mother died and she was reading like everyone else. There's an, what do you call that?
The obituary?
Yes. And naming these kids, and we all have my dad's last name. And she said, this is when she was learning about us. Now, remember, we had the experience where we saw the woman drive to our house. So we're like, that can't be true.
Right. And so, but let me listen, y'all, denial is real. We talk about denial as a bad thing, and it can be, and it also can be comforting. And I just want y'all to lean into that for a minute because it allows us a space to live and survive. Because I don't think that we have the mental capacity to take on some things that are really hurtful in our spaces, in the deep crevices of our lives. And to be a married woman and to know that your husband is out with other women is an entire challenge. And so I'm sure she moved into the space of denial, your father's wife, so that way she could survive, because it's harmful. It is hurtful. And we can only speculate if they've ever had conversations, but to bring home, children that she didn't give birth to, I'm sure it was devastating to her on many levels. And we have a comment saying that It is the entire Caribbean, and it's right. The entire Caribbean lives this life. We know the stories. Hell, I know the stories. I know them personally. So,
and it's interesting you say that, Kidada, because when I was young and in it and living it, I thought it and looked at it one way, right? She was just this mean person. How can you sit in church every day, all day, and just be evil to us? How could you, how can you be that way? We were kids, right? And traumatized kids. We had just lost our mother, and then we were separated. So we have this trauma going on, and now we're in your home, and you're evil to us. So that's the space I was in for years and years and years. As I grew older, the grown woman that I am now, I feel bad for her because I feel like I've been blessed with a lot of love in my life, a lot. And I'm so thankful for that. I'm on my second marriage. My husband loves me dearly. I have a wonderful husband. My first husband was a good husband as well. And we're still like family, right? My son's father. Okay.
Yeah.
I look back and I see for my dad's wife, I don't think she was loved. I think she was a woman who went through life and wasn't loved.
Did you think your
and
father
I think that's
loved
sad.
her?
I think he did probably, but after my mother was gone, and then after Bingo-Pam, I think he was older then. He's like, okay, well, let me do my wife. Let me, be present here and love her. And
because one of the things that I thought about, and y'all know my little academic brain was rolling. So I was doing research and reading and so forth. And I think that, especially if you're in the church, right? I think that, and your father was not a church man. He was out of the church. His wife was in the church. And I say this to say that I believe that there's a time in history, right? And a long time in history that to do the right thing meant you just had to be married, right? And it didn't necessarily mean that there was love, there was function, right? It was more like a function, or if we're going to be intimate, we have to be married, right? And one of the themes that I thought of in this book was that, and they say this about men that have mistresses, is that either like there's like 7 attributes or whatever, and not that all these attributes apply to one man, because it can range from selfishness, it can range to I just had to do this, but the love that I have is for somebody else. Like I'm here to perform the function and the duties of marriage. But I'm going to be with someone else because they provide to me all the emotional, whatever support, blah, blah, blah. And so I kind of got that in the book. Like, here's your mother first. And then you think that, okay, now after the first mistress has passed, then, wait a minute, he got another mistress. And once
Bingo-Pam.
Bingo-Pam was, and I said, your daddy traveled for food. And then now she was responsible. She was his space for lunch and dinner. And I just, once again, y'all, like I said, I liked Bingo-Pam after this. Because
interestingly enough, a couple of people in my family who, like me, in the beginning, it took me years to go and meet her, right? A couple of people in my family never went to meet her, my siblings. And after reading the story, they said, I wished I had gone to meet her.
Because once again, you're supposed to hate the mistresses.
Correct.
You're supposed to hate the side chicks. And it's really interesting because I love a good definition, right? I always have to look up a definition. Hell, I remember the first time I had to go look up the word side chick because I remember years ago, I was like, what is that? And a mistress, literally the definition is a woman that is wanting to marry this married man. And it stuck with me for a minute because I was like, wait a minute, is that true for everybody? And Bingo-Pam was different.
She was different. And that's why I said an unlikely side chick, because I grew up in the church, like probably 5 different churches: Methodist, Christian, Baptist, the Kojic Church of God in Christ,
oh, girl, you had
holiness churches, right? Yeah. So, and we didn't have a choice. And so it was Jezebel. most of the time was Pentecostal. It was Jezebel. It was the whole Jezebel line, and there was no ifs, ands. It was a closed square. It was Jezebel, right? So that was what I entered into, but then which is why it also took me so long to finally meet her. It's like, nope, I don't want anything to do with that. That's Jezebel. I'm not, no.
Right. And I said, and I talked about social identity earlier, because once again, when we label stuff, and we don't, I'm a big fan of create your own labels for yourself, because if you put the label on that the world provides to you, it can be a weight on your shoulders.
Well, I grew to that because, she was Jezebel, and the definition was, a married man a married woman, a woman in a relationship with a married man committing adultery, right? My mother was not married to my father. He was married when my mother met him. So then there's the question, so is my mother Jezebel? Right? If in the deck of cards, it's a heart, it's a diamond, it's a spade, it's a club. It is what it is. So if she's Jezebel, then she's just Jezebel number 2. My mother would have been Jezebel number 1. So then there's that whole thing going on. You don't want to call your own mom a Jezebel, right? That you don't do that, right?
Yeah.
But nonetheless, it's like you're going through this phase in life where you're evolving, like you said, a young woman, and you have to kind of just sort of start to think for yourself. You have to start to think for yourself even outside of the space of all the churches and what you were told. This is the way it is, and you have to think for yourself.
The idea that the idea of Jezebel is really interesting, because once again, there is a definition in the church, and then y'all know I love good Webster Merriam dictionaries, right? And so the distinction, because what the church doesn't say is that the Jezebel label, mistress label, that the thought is that she wants to be the wife. She wants to replace the wife. And that is untrue for a lot of instances, right?
She has ill intent. She wants to be the wife. She wants to dismantle the marriage, the home, all that, because she wants to be that person.
Right. And
in this case, that was not Bingo-Pam's story.
Bingo-Pam was, listen, I love me some Bingo-Pam, and I'm not supposed to, but I do love me some Bingo-Pam.
I wasn't supposed to either.
And let me tell y'all, I'm not supposed to, because the world tells me socially that I should not speak to the woman that my father has had an affair with, right? And in this book, it brings up certain dynamics, because your aunties and them were mad at Bingo-Pam because of their allegiance to your mother, and not recognizing that your mom was the original side chick.
Exactly.
And not only that, but I wondered too, the idea of love, right? Like, do we parse love? How did this man have the capacity and time to do all the things that he did with 6 children, to be a father to 6 children? Did he love her more? Because sometimes people fail to realize that people stay in marriages for functional reasons. And the functional reason has nothing to do with love. It's because I stood in front of the church
and made a vow before God, and so on and so forth.
Right. And I'm gonna tell y'all, because I'm gonna have to get myself in trouble, because I need some of y'all to know and understand, God did not write those vows. Okay, y'all could stand up in front of the Lord and say, I love purple today, and say amen and keep it going. But a man wrote those vows, and then people say, well, I stood in front of the Lord and repeated these vows. Okay, but if a man wrote the vows, then you just keep who, and that is, and I'm a former married woman. That doesn't mean I felt like disrespecting marriage. I'm just saying that to y'all to understand that some people stay in relationship just because, and they're unhappy. And they put on a show. And until we honor that and recognize that, I feel like people need to be happy. Do I feel like maybe there's a better way to handle that? Like maybe just leave. But because of the function of marriage, it doesn't work that way. And that was evidently what your father chose.
You know, I love my daddy. I look just like my daddy. Love my daddy. I had him a lot longer than I had my mother because she died when I was
Yes.
younger. But
Yes.
I always knew I would never marry a man like my daddy.
Ooh.
Similarly, I always knew that his wife, he only
Mhm.
had one wife his entire life. They stayed
Yeah.
married.
Yeah.
When he passed later, she was his widow. Obviously, they neither of them ever remarried.
Mm,
But I knew that I would also never be her, the woman that she was. Never, never, never,
mm,
never,
mm, 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 mm. Yeah,
ever.
there's a passage because you actually, let me just commend you on the bravery to be a grown ass woman to say, I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna ask the side chick the questions. I respect that so very much. And I want to let you know it's 8 o'clock. Do you want to, can we proceed?
I am good. I'm
All
good.
right.
Thank you, Kidada. I'm
All
good.
right. And in my mind, I was like, the hip hop in me was like, yes, indeed, but we're gonna leave that alone. We ain't gonna bring all the hip hop out this morning. Because I spoke about love, and I want to say you actually sat down with Bingo-Pam and asked
Mhm,
questions.
mhm,
This woman that you are not supposed to like, the woman that you are not
mhm,
supposed to interact with at all because
mhm,
she's enemy
mhm,
number one.
mhm.
Um, she tells you that the way she was raised is that if you're gonna love, then love.
Then love.
Ain't
Mhm,
no shame in loving somebody. And I was
mm-mm.
like, ooh,
And it's one of those things, it's the one of the simplest, most profound things
yes,
that stayed with me forever to this day, to this moment. I can tell you that line
yeah,
verbatim. She said, my girlfriend who has this story, she did Bingo-Pam for Amazon's audio, so it's on
yes,
audio,
yes.
and she captured the spirit of Bingo-Pam when she says it. She said,
Mm,
if you're gonna love, then love. And that was
mm,
her, you can't help who you love. If you're gonna love, then love. And her thing was, because I love this man, my dad, how
yeah,
can you love him and not then love his seed, which
yeah,
is me and my siblings? And so
right,
from that space, she was like, I don't understand the kind of love his wife has. I don't
yeah,
understand it, because
yeah,
how can she be evil to claim that she loved this man, but then be evil to his children?
yeah. I'm telling you, whew, it's messy. It's messy, and it's messy because, and listen, it is such a cauldron of mess that it's like, because in my mind, I was like, wait a minute, you got the side chick talking about the wife and how the wife's behaving, because that's judgment. Let's be honest and clear. That is a judgment call.
It's a
It's
judgment call, but I didn't see it as a judgment call. I saw it as I kind of saw it as opening your eyes to how life goes and when you love, because I believe that there's some reality to that. If you love somebody, how do you not love or at least care about what means something to them?
Did you feel validated from her?
No, not necessarily validated.
Okay.
No, no.
Okay.
I just felt a sense of acceptance. I
Mm-hmm.
felt like she really was what she said she was. She was very raw and she
Mm-hmm.
didn't know a lot. So when I say she was a simple person, I don't mean it as a condescending way. She was a
Right.
very simple person. She just who was who she was, and she says, "I just believe if you love, then you love. If you're gonna love,
Right.
then love. Period."
It was in her simplicity that I think I fell in love with her, and her
Yes.
rawness, because she
Yes.
was like, listen, her spirit, and
Yes.
let me just tell y'all, I'm gonna post the link so y'all can find this book, but let me just tell you, Bingo-Pam, and y'all will find out in the book, Bingo-Pam had a heart of gold, and I'm just gonna say that because she adopted children. She wanted your siblings to come live with her, right? Like that's what, and I was like, wow, like this
Yeah.
woman, that,
When my mother passed, she wanted all of us.
yeah, I mean, that is amazing. And I was just like, wow, she had the capacity. Her love was larger than probably even the love your daddy had for her. If
Correct. It was
he loved
larger than that
her,
whole
right?
situation. It was larger
Yeah.
than the whole situation.
And I mean, it has me wondering, I was like, do I have that capacity? I don't
Right.
know.
Right.
Where's my capacity for love? Where is my capacity?
But here's what it does do. So as I grew up and and got some life behind me and some years behind
Yeah,
me, so now if you come at me and the love isn't genuine,
you
I
got to
got no
go.
time for it. I
You
got
got
no
it.
time for it.
Yeah, I love it. I'm just gonna ask you, I as you reflect, right, as you sat with three different women, right, your mother, as you reflect on that in her relationship with your father, as you reflect on the relationship your father had with his wife, as you reflect on the relationship that he had with Bingo-Pam, and you got to sit with relationship with all three of those women. Why do you think that we're supposed to be mad at the mistresses? Why?
I think it's a social thing that we're taught. It's a social thing that we are groomed to think and
Mm,
believe and embrace.
mm-hmm.
Um, I don't, I'm not that deep of a person to drill
Yeah.
down and drill down and drill down on that, but I just think that it's also an issue more with women than it
Mm,
is with men sometimes, because
mm-hmm.
I can go, this the whole story can be a whole nother almanac on my dad,
Right.
right? But Bingo-Pam is just about Bingo-Pam. But
Mm-hmm.
that's what you hear about the Jezebel. The whole story of Jezebel is mostly on Jezebel. It's not
Right.
about the man,
Right.
which
Which is an interesting thing, right? Because women fight over men. I, listen, it is amazing to me, because I'm like, why is it we never attack the man? And why is it not even attack? But why is it we never question? Why is it we don't have judgment for the man at the center of this? Because I did wonder, and I think I said to you, I would love to have a conversation with a man and go, listen, I'm gonna need you to break it down for me. Like, tell us, like, just tell us your mindsets and where you're at in this. Because we might find something, we find out something, we might be surprised, we might have empathy, we might have sympathy. What is it? That, because once, I think you and I joked about the fact of time. How do you give time to children, multiple women? How, and I think Bingo-Pam, excuse me, Bingo-Pam actually stated, listen, I don't need your daddy money. He ain't got that kind of money. I wondered, like, does he have the money to maintain all these households?
my daddy had a decent job and that was it. So we were on welfare, and we didn't live in like the projects, the typical
Yeah.
projects like welfare people did. We lived in apartments that were not,
Mm-hmm.
extravagant. We lived in regular neighborhoods with two working people, regular neighborhoods like that. But it was because we had welfare and daddy.
Okay.
So, we often had a car parked at our house, but it was daddy's car. We
Okay.
often lived in a house. We moved a lot. Like I went to 5 different elementary schools in the same town because they raised the rent. We had to move. We were poor, but we
Mm,
also had daddy. So we
okay.
had new school clothes at the time when you had bought new school clothes for your
Yeah.
kids every year. That was
Yeah.
the day I was coming up in. And when we would go and get new school clothes, we would go to the department store, mostly Sears at the time,
All
department
right.
store, and
Shout out to
buy,
Sears.
right? But my mother didn't have a checking account. My mother was on welfare. She didn't have credit cards, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how did we
Mm-hmm.
do that? We used her credit card.
Who is her? Who's
My
her
dad's
credit card?
wife. My
Oh
dad's
Lord.
wife.
See, I told y'all about the cauldron of mess. So you're telling me that your no. Let me say this correctly. The cauldron of mess, right, is that your father gave your mother his wife's credit card to take his children shopping for school clothes. Is that what you just said to me?
Yes,
Oh, child, it's too much.
it is
It's
a
it's,
lot.
it's
It
too
is a
much.
lot. But you know what? It is, and it also exposes me to a lot of different types of people, a lot of different types of dichotomies and dynamics of people. So it's rare that I come across where I'm actually shocked or amazed or something. It's like, oh yeah, I know that tune. I know this beat. I don't want it. I know this tune. I don't want it. I know how this rolls. I'm good. So it does give you that, the experiences of all of it.
You just don't
will
want
never, I will never be the vanilla person. I can't. Vanilla bores me in a way.
Okay. Well, I mean, listen, your haircut, which I love, tells me once again, there's no vanilla here. And you married a man from TNT. So, I know, because I know about TNT men. Shout out to the TNT. And I just want to, the missing piece of the puzzle to me, of course, right, is this idea of I love your phrase. You said groomed. We are groomed literally to hate the mistresses. We are not groomed to have the problem, as they say back in the day, the beef with the man, the father. And here's what's interesting. If you're a child, you love your parents regardless. You love your parents. And I wondered, as you watched your parents' relationship, did you feel that your mother and dad had a loving relationship? Like he loved her. Did you see that love?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Yes. When you lived in your father's wife's house, wait, hold on. Your father. Okay.
Did I see that love? Same question.
Did you see love?
No, I saw perfunctory, to your point earlier. I saw that he was this was his house, this was his wife. Yeah, this is where we live, but there was no, it was a cold house. It was a cold house. There was no, our house was loud. It was Motown. My mom was young. My mom had 6 kids by the time she was 21 or 22 with this married man. My mom was the hip, curvy, young, smart, sassy girl with a master's of science and street cred and right? We had Motown going. We had Soul Train Saturday mornings, whatever. His house was completely different. It was very quiet. It was not even church music, not even the gospel was playing. It was just quiet and cold and unwarm and not friendly. And you kids, I'm going to tell your dad to tell you kids this or whatever. It was that. It was completely different. So my dad was like, we would look at him sometimes and think like, this is where you live? No wonder you're at our house every day.
Like, oh, damn. Okay. Well, you know what? That's truth. That's truth. And some people are going to be mad at that, but I appreciate the truth because people don't give credit to kids. I don't know why we become adults and forget who we were as children and our own thoughts and feelings around things. Because that thought is always there. It's present. It's you get to see and it's present. And I just want to share my own truth because this story transported me back to when I was a younger girl. And if you don't know anything about old Caribbean people separate. I just want to tell you, they separate, they don't divorce. Divorce is now a thing, but most Caribbean people of a different generation, they do not separate. And my parents have been separated since I was 12. I am now 50, and they have gone to live on their own lives. However, there was a time when I went to visit my daddy, and by definition, right, this woman would have been my daddy's side chick, right? Even though my parents had been separated forever, right? And I remember it was a holiday, and I'm not going to say her name because her name just came to me. It just came to me. But I remember being in New York City, and it was July 4th weekend, only because I remember standing, and I think maybe it wasn't July 1st. It was some celebration that had to do with the Statue of Liberty. So whatever that big celebration was. And I remember seeing my dad be affectionate with her. And I felt, the little girl felt some kind of way because, first of all, let me just say, I didn't feel that way because, oh, my mom and dad were still married. I felt that way because I was daddy's girl. And I was like, who this woman? Because I think that was the very first time I had seen it, right? Like your parent be affectionate with someone else. That in your mind as a young person, you're like, wait a minute. You have to get that together in your mind. Your brain has to wrap around that. And I recall that I was walking behind them and she grabbed his hand. I'm going to say she grabbed his hand, but however, let me, truth be told, they were holding hands. I don't know who grabbed whose hand, but in my mind, it was like she grabbed his hand. And I remember being offended and walking in between them and pulling their hands apart and holding my daddy's hand. Because I was like, hold on, I don't know you. Like, what are you touching him for? It was such an interesting dynamic that I wondered for you, did you have that experience? Like, here was your mother passed, and then now you're in the main home, right? And did you see that level of affection with?
No, I did not. And no is the answer to that. But I want to add on top of that, no. With Bingo-Pam going to her house finally, right, when I did go, there was so many other things that just like swooped over me that the least thing that was on my mind was their connection, and that, you know, kind of going and experiencing the twin house and all that stuff, pictures of me, all that, pictures of my siblings when we were at my mom's funerals, all that stuff. So my head was swirling in that space more than it was in their connection and affection, because my dad and her were not touchy, lovey like that. They were not. He was not like that with his wife either. Yeah, him and with my mom, he would, you know how men are. They, you know, pat your butt when they walk by, that kind of. So they had that, but they weren't like lovey, affectionate all the time. That wasn't the spirit. But even though he had a little bit of that with my mom, I never saw that with him and his wife. And I didn't really see it with him and Bingo-Pam, although I kind of think it was there. I just didn't see that part and didn't take it part. There was so many other things that took my attention, like in the story, you remember the story if you read it, when I walked into her house and it's like, wait, what? Wait, wait, what?
Right. It was like to me, it was almost like she was a mother and you didn't even know she was a mother to you. Like she had all the photos. She had a home for you that you didn't even realize you were a part of.
Right. Someone even said to me as they were reading the story, like they were building up to think that it was going to turn out that she was my true mom. It's like, nope.
Interesting.
Nope.
And it's interesting that he shared you all with her. That's what was interesting to me. Like he was willing to share all of his children, their stories, their moments, because she showed up at your graduation and you didn't even know. And she was at subsequent graduations. Didn't even know. And I just you know what, once again.
Now, keep in mind at these graduations where she showed up, like the first stealth mode where I didn't know who she was. I never saw her. I just had known of her. My dad was there with his wife. He was there in the stands with his wife.
At that point in time, I don't know who is more bold. I don't know. It's a challenge for me because I'm like, there's a boldness there. And I don't know I think the space of the conversation, the challenge of this is that there's a conversation that has to be around fault. Whose fault?
But you know what? But here's another interesting angle is that knowing that my dad and his wife was there. I mean, imagine a basketball game. It's a little bit more intimate in that you're all in this arena. Okay. And the game is over and everybody floods the floor in excitement, right? She was able to slip in there and get to me without making a scene, without his wife even probably knowing that she was there. And she was, you know what I'm saying? So I think she had plenty and ample opportunity to be that perception of the Jezebel, the perception of the side chick. I think she had many opportunities to be that and to do that, but she didn't.
And tell me more what you mean by that. She had the opportunity.
Meaning she could have made herself seen. She could have made herself known. She could have made it known that I have a relationship with this man. I know this man. I know this man intimately. I know him more than just the neighbor. How you doing across the street? You know, she could have made that known on many occasions, I think, and she didn't. So she would tell me after I got to know her, she told me that, you know, if I need something done, and I think it's in the book, I ask my dad, she said, I tell him to do this for me on Sundays when I know she's at church.
Isn't that interesting?
So she even worked around her schedule.
And his?
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I need you to do this or I need you to do that, but do it when I know I'm going to schedule it when I know she's at church.
Church. And I can tell you that I'm, you know, I spoke about fault, right? Who's at fault here? If that is the word that needs to be used, but we have to understand that he willingly shared himself and his family with Bingo-Pam, right? Like he shared his life with her and I think most people always land on the intimate side of it, right? But the fact that he was like, no, come to the graduations. There's a permission that's given to come. Can
I say something? I'm not so sure that's the way it went. I'm not so sure that's the way it went.
Oh, okay.
I believe from what I met of her and what I know of her, I don't think she asked his permission. Can I go? Can I do this? I think she decided this is a big moment for her. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there. You do you, but I'm going to be there.
So that's interesting. And honestly, when and let me just say this, the fact that I use the word permission, I wasn't alluding to the fact that she asked him. I was alluding to the fact that he gave her the space. The space was given because he shared so much of his life with her. Now, I don't know where in her mind that she was just like, okay, let me show up, because that could have been a run-in with the wife, right? That could have been a very interesting kind of graduation.
I don't think she would have. I don't think that would have happened. I don't think that would have happened. I think that Bingo-Pam would have gone out of her way to make sure there was not a run-in.
Okay, because I
don't think she would have done that.
She
wasn't interested in run-ins, and when I wrote it, I was in the space of fault was not factored in. Fault and blame was not factored in. It was just telling the story as it was. I wasn't looking for blame or fault. But before we finish, though, Kidana, I do want to kind of give a shout out and hopefully
please
go to BWA. But let me answer any more questions you might have about Bingo-Pam, which is not her true name, but that's the name that I'm giving her.
And actually in the book, you kind of question that too, because you had a revelation about that as well. I do want to say this in closing, and we will discuss BWA, Black Women Authors. And I just want to say this, that Bingo-Pam, y'all, she was a reflective woman. She knew who she was. And I love the fact that she stood on business, as the young people say, because she knew she had fallen in love with a married man, but yet she still had some boundaries. Of course, like she knew that there was a hierarchy. She accepted that. She knew her role, and I love the fact that you say that she accepted her boundaries with absolute acceptance. And I put a little respect on her because she said she didn't want to marry that man. She did not. That was not her life. She was perfectly happy cooking and being intimate and go on about your business because I know what I need to do over here. We can talk about this for years to come, y'all, years to come on this topic. And I'm going to find a way to have a different type of discussion about this because I really would love to talk to a couple men that are like, oh, why did you do this? I just want to know, how did you have time? Because listen, I can barely have time to do stuff between me and my dog. Okay.
And I also think, I think he had time because of the type of woman his wife was. I think a certain type of woman would allow that kind of time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And a woman like me, a woman like you, I don't think that would have been the case. I mean, listen, he was the only man in my entire life.
Let me tell you
all my brothers and sisters, every day. It's Christmas. There was 6 bikes in our living room. We woke up to 6 bikes that he put together. This married man the whole time had a wife and 2 kids across town.
So wait, so they had children too?
2, intertwined between, like, their first daughter is 2 years younger than me. And then their son, they had a male and a female, but sweet kids. We eventually got to meet them. Very sweet. One of them has passed away. Bless him. She was a sweetheart. And a son that was like a year apart from one of my brothers. So there was a couple times when his wife and my mom might have been pregnant at the same time.
Did you have a good relationship with them?
Good. Fair. It was fair.
Okay.
Fair.
Okay. Interesting. I'm just fascinated. I'm fascinated. From the time that I was given your text, I was just fascinated, and I knew I needed to talk to you about this. Before we roll into BWA stuff, I have to ask a question to you. And my question is, you stated that you knew that I would never be that type of woman. And so tell us what that meant. What does that mean for you after coming out of your life experiences, especially having 3 different women in your life that were, quote unquote, kind of mother roles to you?
I wouldn't be the type of woman, first and foremost, that my dad married. I could never be that type of woman. Just to allow all of that. The type of woman who, I think she was the type of woman who you kind of had to know your husband was doing something. He wasn't at home.
Okay, right.
The job was over at a certain time. He wasn't wealthy.
Right.
He was doing something somewhere. Even if you want to call it the sixth sense, a gut feeling, whatever, you kind of had to know he was doing something somewhere.
Right.
And for that to be a question all day, not every day for years, okay. For years would not have been okay. I mean, because my dad was at our house every day. I can't, there is not a time where I can say my dad was absent.
That's interesting.
So how is that? How do you do that when you have a whole nother home?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I could not be that woman to just live in that space of what you mentioned as denial or something, to live in that space. I could not be who Bingo-Pam was, because it's just not me to be in a relationship with a married man, period. It's just, that's just not my thing. So I could not be her. I would not have been the woman that my mother was, because again, she was a younger person with 6 kids by the time she was 21, 22. That wouldn't have been my life either. So, you know, who do I become? Who do I evolve to become?
Yeah.
And so you learn to take bits and pieces of people, and you learn to start thinking for yourself. You know, and so I'm very comfortable with who I grew up to be. But yes, they did have impact in shaping and molding me, even if it was from the spirit of, it won't be this and it won't be that.
Right. Yeah. I thank you for writing this text. And I just want to say thank you for allowing me to interview you, but also give me a lot of thoughts, making me think. And I'm sure everyone that read this book was like, it makes you really pause and think about
Wouldn't
some
it be a
things.
great story? Wouldn't it be a great screenplay?
Girl, listen. Listen, as they say,
All true
listen,
stuff.
Linda.
All true stuff.
I
All
was
true.
like, I gotta send this to my homegirl who is a director because we could do some things. We could put you on Tubi. Because I'm like, the cauldron of mess is crazy. I would in thank you for honoring Bingo-Pam. Thank you for being honest that you had enough courage to meet her, to ask her the tough questions that we would be afraid to ask, and getting to know her as an individual and not just the label of Jezebel or side chick or mistress, and leaving her in that space because she was a whole individual who had her own life, her own thoughts, and she was very free flowing with her thoughts, which I appreciated. And so I just thank you for that, because as a woman, I think this story is really interesting about how it is we look at other women, and the relationships that we have in that space. I wish that, I don't know, you tell me if you're ever going to write a book solely on your daddy, because we're ready for it. I'm ready.
You know what? I don't know yet.
Okay.
I have a list. I like writing, and I have a list of stuff, but I haven't. My writing is kind of on pause because I'm doing this other project with BWA that I'm loving right now. And
All right, so tell us. So you all, the other
I'm
group
getting
of chicas
feedback.
that I met at London Book Fair was Black women authors. Now, as a first-time author, listen, this was such a learning experience for me that I know about the Scholastic Book Fair, y'all. I did not know about any other type of book fairs for adults in this world. And just to come across all of these organizations. And even funnier is that, you come and meet people and you're like, wait, you're from the United States? Oh, okay. Like, we flew over here together. And so met this group of women called Black Women Authors. And you are a representative of Black Women Authors. So please tell us more.
So Black Women Authors, it's an acronym, BWA, starts for Black Women Authors because Paulette Henson, who's the CEO and founder, her and I met last summer or whatever. And she had already been working with BWA. Again, she founded it from her living room, basically. And it's a space for authors who, you probably have learned this by now, when you self-publish, especially, you publish your book and then you go on Amazon or whatever and you get some sales. And then after a point, you're just out there in this big blue ocean.
Yep.
Right? Okay. So what she did is kind of threw out a lifeline for these authors to say, you know what, we can promote you. We can help you with your publishing, whatever your journey is, from manuscript to masterpiece.
Okay.
Right? We can help you. And so BWA was born from her thoughts. I met her and we partnered together, and we've been working together extremely well. So I'm actually serving as her operations officer, her chief operations officer. And Paulette, who I'm going to make sure you have her information because you need to have her on your show.
Yes.
She's an extremely dynamic woman. We work well together because she's so dynamic.
Yes.
She's a very sweet, giving person. Right? Very approachable. She's also extremely smart. So we complement each other very, very well with business and vision and all this. And so she'll say something and I'll take it another level, or I'll say something and she'll take it a couple notches higher. So we just complement each other very, very well. So BWA is now a magazine that's monthly, comes out on the first of every month. So shout out to bwamagazine.com. And I'm going to give you all of Paulette's information because I think you need to have her on your show.
Yes, most definitely. And we need to support Black women authors. Hell, we need to support Black authors in general. And because it is, I almost use a DEI phrase, y'all, because a DEI phrase is whitewashed, but we don't want to get into that today. But we're just going to say that we need to support Black authors, and we need to support Black women authors. Hell, we're both women authors. And so can you tell us what the project is? Can you just give us a little hint? Or you're gonna be like, no, could I mind you?
Well, no, it is. It actually is a magazine. And okay. So, yeah, our next issue, we drop an issue on the 1st of every month. We drop a new magazine, a monthly issue. BWA stands for Black Women Authors. That's who we are, but we're inclusive. So any author, entrepreneur, writer, business person can be in the magazine. You don't have to be a Black woman to be in our magazine. Okay. And we feature you. We can do whatever. And our website is beautiful. If you go to it, it speaks for itself. You can be featured on there. You can get help for whatever you need, if you need help with a book cover or editing services, whatever. Okay, but if you just want to be featured in our magazine, you can do that as well. And our next few issues, we should have some really interesting people on the cover. We're emerging, we're growing. You saw us in London. We'll also be at Frankfurt, Germany later this year at the Book Mess.
I'll be there too.
So yeah, there you go. But yeah, you should meet Paulette. I think you'll really enjoy a collaboration with her. So you should speak with her. I'll make sure you have her information.
Please do. And I hope you didn't say you're going to be in Philadelphia, but I hope you guys come to Philly. But I know everyone has travel schedules and it's a thing. So I just want to say, Stella, Author Stella Stella, thank you so very much, sister, for waking up with me this morning. Because I know, right? It was early. I know you were getting ready to go on vacation too. I'm so jealous. And so just thank you. Thank you for your honesty. Thank you for your wisdom and reflection in your book. And thank you for sharing Bingo-Pam with us. Listeners, I just want to say this is a point in a conversation where judgment is, it's a hard task to get rid of. And when we lay down judgment, we need to, it allows us to learn. It opens up.
Challenge yourself to grow. Challenge yourself to grow beyond judgment. Judgment is easy, it's simple, and it's narrow. Challenge yourself to grow.
Oh, I like that. Oh, look at that. Stella just dropped something for us, y'all. And I love it. And I am going to say thank you once again for being
Thank you for having me
on the show. And in closing, y'all, I know y'all about to go celebrate. I know y'all about to go drink it up because it's Cinco de Mayo. Y'all about to go celebrate because our Hispanic friends aren't celebrating because, like I said, it is not Independence Day for them. But y'all just want another day to drink. Go drink it up today. Go have a margarita. Be good to your family. Please, Lord, don't drink and drive. And Author Stella Stella, thank you. Please go enjoy the rest of your day. And y'all, thank you all for joining. I know some of y'all have been like, okay, we got to go to work, but it's all right. Listen to the podcast. You can listen to the podcast on my Facebook Live for the next 30 days. You can listen to the podcast in a couple of weeks when it hits YouTube. And you can find me at The Conflict Whisperer. And so have a good day.
Thank you, Kidada, so much. Thank you. Love what you.
One of the biggest challenges for coaches, practitioners, and hypnotherapists is getting clients. As coaches ourselves, we know how difficult it is on social media to stand out and gain credibility. That is why at Life Coaching Today, we connect coaches like you with clients. It all starts with our directory, where it's possible to create a profile that gets the right exposure with over 12,000 hits a month. You can gain credibility by writing for Life Coaching Today magazine, add videos, be interviewed on our podcast, teach classes in the community, and sell your products directly from our website. Not to mention, we actually connect clients who are actively searching for coaches who can best serve them. So if you are struggling to get clients, have Life Coaching Today help you get more clients. Go to lifecoachingtoday.com.
Thank you for watching Life Coaching Today Presents. hosted by Kadada Gray and produced by Aruba Saad. Our mission at Life Coaching Today is to empower your health, business, community, and life. Check us out at lifecoachingtoday.com. Everyone here at the True Awesome Network would like to remind you to like, comment, subscribe, and spread awesome. Thank you for watching Life Coaching Today Presents, hosted by Kadada Gray and produced by Aruba Saad. Our mission at Life Coaching Today is to empower your health, business, community, and life. Check us out at lifecoachingtoday.com. Everyone here at the True Awesome Network would like to remind you to like, comment, subscribe, and spread awesome.